Okay, my name's Ian Graham Payne. I'm 77 years of age and I was born in Coleraine on the 22nd of March 1947. I was one of 6 children. My father, Charles Douglas Payne, and my mother, Ruth Payne. Originally they lived in Coleraine and then in 1950 they moved down to Borken, which is on the between Terang and Camberdown, down the Western District of Victoria, and Dad went into a soldier settlement farm, 250 acres, which he built up into a very successful dairy farm, certainly with the help of Mum. And as a result, they also had 6 children. My older brother, Charles, or probably better known to Essendon supporters as Charlie. I was second, then Philippa, my sister, was born, and then there was twins, Robert and John, and finally Andrea, our younger sister. So there were 6 of us on the farm. And as time went on, we all certainly enjoyed the farm. We enjoyed the jobs we were allocated to, and we, I went to school in Terang, went to Terang State School, and also the Terang High School. Going through school, I determined in life I had 2 ambitions. One was to join the Victoria Police Force, and the other one was to play football at the highest level, and at the time was the VFL. And my older brother Charles, he at a young age was recruited by Essendon. He came down to Essendon in 1961. He played in the thirds, and then in 1962 he played in the seniors at Essendon, which was a very successful year for him. Essendon won the grand final that year, and Charles, as a 17-year-old, was part of the team. I was continuing with school, and later on in '65 I was recruited by Essendon as well, and I came down to Essendon that year. I didn't play any games in the seniors with Essendon in '65, other than one game halfway through the year where I was picked as a 19th man and got a run in the last quarter, about 5 minutes to go. So that was my only game for 1965. Then in '66 and '67 I played another 22 games, and but during that period of time the National Service was flying along beautifully, and my number had come up, and I was selected to head off into the Army. You get notified by the get your letter in the mail to say that your number had been selected, and having no doubts I was going into the Army because of I was pretty fit, with football training, that type of thing. I got a letter. I had to go down to the medical centre in Swanston Street in Melbourne for the medical exam, and yes, in July '67 caught a bus outside in East Melbourne where the tennis centre is, and about 100 guys jumped on buses, and we headed off to Puckapunyal for our new experience. Well, look, I joined the police force in '66, and I was enjoying that role. I was going well in terms of football. I'd getting a few games in '66, and when it came up in '67, I thought, well, that's the it's the law. That's everyone was doing it. There's a few conscientious objectors, but I certainly was never going to be one of them. and just took it in my stride, and off I went. Jumped out of the blue machine and into the green machine. I came from a family that my father, he was a World War II veteran. He'd done 6 years in the army. He came in as a private. He did the Middle East, he did Greece, and he went on and did Papua New Guinea. So he understood what the army was about. Mum, she obviously had trepidation because the son's going away, that type of thing, and hopefully didn't have to go to Vietnam, but that wasn't to be the case. Yeah, it was just one of those. Some people are disappointed, other people, like me, probably just take it with a grain of salt and away you go and move on in life. I'd already done probably what basic training is by doing 20 weeks in the Victoria Police Force training. And so I arrived at Puckapunyal knowing you had to do 10 weeks, and anyway, you wouldn't believe it, the first day we were there, we get allocated our huts, and we certainly got to know who was in charge. The corporal comes in and he says, "Who's the copper in the room?" And put my hand up, and he says, "Teach them how to make their bed. He'll be back." So here I am, having to teach 12 or 11 guys how to make their beds, and that was my introduction to the army. And I don't know about the guys in the room, because I tell them about envelope corners at the end of the bed, and they're thinking, "What the hell's he talking about?" But anyway, the end result was we got them. That was probably the hardest thing I had to do in the whole time I was at Pucka, teaching these guys to make their bed. But anyway, it was done. But no, I got through the training all right. The fact I was in the police force, when it comes to allocation of what corps you're going to, whereas John went to Singleton, because I was a policeman, I got allocated the Provo unit, or the military police unit, and I was allocated there. That when I completed training at Pucka, I was sent to Sydney, and anyway, when I get up to Sydney to where the Provo was, you wouldn't believe it. It was like going to a holiday camp. It was where we were based is right on the heads at the entrance to Sydney Harbour, and you know, like you got these fabulous views. You got boats coming in and out, that type of thing. I thought, oh, it's like Christmas. But training there was pretty easy, because I'd already done that type of training in the police force. There's a few extra type roles we were taught, like truck driving, motorbike driving, things like that, you know, which I hadn't done there. But the educational part of it was pretty much the same as the police force. So that was easy, and got through that okay. Once I'd completed that, it was like we're doing general duties, and one of the roles we had to do was, from time to time, was picking up people for going absent without leave, AWOL. That's one of the things they did. But probably the best story of the lot was I got allocated a job one day where I had to fly up to Wagga Wagga, which is in central New South Wales, and pick up an AWOL up there. And what he was actually a Grenadier Guard from England, and picked him up, and we flew back, and it was a great conversation I had with the guy. You know, like he'd got sick of the army, certainly the Grenadier Guards. He said maintaining 33 uniforms for the role that they did was probably a bit much, and also probably the army. He decided to head for Australia, and yeah, ended up getting caught up at Wagga Wagga, and there'd been a warrant issued for his arrest from England, and yeah, so we brought him back, and off he went back to the mother country. Well, they're part of the, they do all the royal guards, that type of thing, and ceremonies, all those type of things. So it's a and that's one of the things I think in England is the way they run their not shows, probably not the right word, but their ceremonies and that type of thing. And the Grenadier Guards are the ones that are the leading unit over there for that type of thing. With national service, it's 2 years. So the first 11 months you're basically in Australia. Next 12 months you're in Vietnam, and then you come back, and for 1 month you do your leave and everything before you discharge. And I also, after doing the core training, I did Canungra. That was pretty hard. That was a 3-week course up in Queensland, and they really get stuck into you up there and get you ready to actually before you go over, and it's always done about a month before you go. And so on June '68, I flew over. There was probably about 100 of us flew over. We left Sydney, stopovers in Darwin and Singapore, and landed at, in those days, Saigon. What had happened, the Australians come down from Nui Dat, and also the Australians from the base at Vung Tau, they were allowed to go on their time off and that into town to the bars and that type of thing. Also, in the bar area, you had the Yanks there, the Americans were there. You had the South Korea, you had Philippines, and then the Vietnamese people in this particular bar area. And it's a big area and a lot of bars, and there's always some type of trouble there. Generally, the Australians are pretty good, and what we, as military police, we're a bit like the taxi service after 10 o'clock. The Australians would come and they'd be, the boys would say, oh, a bit, what's watching the watch, like whatever they were doing. And we just take them back to the bars. We didn't have, rarely we had trouble with the Australians. There was always an Australian patrol, and then there was also a patrol where there was an American Jeep with 2 American MPs, 1 Australian MP or New Zealander MP, and 1 South Vietnamese policeman, or the white mice as we used to call them. And we'd go, and wherever there was an incident, involving the different cultures there, it was sorted out that way. And even probably the Viet Cong were there as well, having a good time, who's to tell who's who. But that's what we basically did. Every now and again you'd get selected for another job. One particular job I got selected for one time was to be the guard for a supplies to go to Saigon from the port of Vung Tau. It's about a 12-hour trip up the river, and you'd be on the barge. You're just sort of like a caretaker for all the supplies going up, and that was interesting. During the daylight hours, you'd leave about 4 o'clock in the morning, arrive up there about 7 or 8 o'clock. You'd leave there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, arrive up there about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. During the daylight hours going up, in the river, you'd look out either side, and all it was mud, because with the Agent Orange, the Yanks had sprayed, and you look out about 2 kilometres either side, mud, nothing. Everything had been destroyed, and because of the chances of ambushes and that type of thing, they've just destroyed everything. And so that way it was a reasonably safe trip up. I did 6 months in Vung Tau, then I did 6 months in Nui Dat. Nui Dat was different in terms of the role. Every day a convoy left Vung Tau in the Nui Dat in the morning and headed to Vung Tau. We'd escort it down and to a point where it was safe for them to continue, and then we'd meet the afternoon convoy coming back and escort them back, and that was our role. Normally, our Land Rover, we had an M60 mounted on the back, and there was 3 on board, and we do the escort in the mornings prior to the convoys going out. The Armoured Corps would do in the APCs would do a check of the road between Nui Dat and Berea, which was the town halfway through. Make sure that, because it was a dirt road, no landmines that type, they'd run over with the. So normally pretty good, and no real issues. There was one issue there where a remote controlled mine went off and killed a couple of Americans going down there who were in the Australian convoy. So obviously whoever detonated fixed up the Americans, unfortunately. And yeah. But other than that, that was it. Other roles I did when I was at Nui Dat, I spent a month out in the with the Armoured Corps. They were on a mission out there, and our role as military policemen, because it was Viet Cong were being captured and that type of thing, we'd fly out to probably where the infantry was, pick them up and bring them back, or if they was wounded, take them to a field hospital, that type of thing. So that was a common occurrence, which we did while we were there. Yeah. When I was in Vung Tau, and I mentioned before, we had a joint patrol where we worked with the Americans and the South Vietnamese police. One of the American guys, all he wanted was a slouch hat. I need a slouch hat, and anyway, I accommodated him. I swapped him a slouch hat for his hat. That's the unity which was based at Vung Tau at the American base, and anyway, he's probably sitting at home now with his slouch hat, and I'm sitting here with his helmet. So there you go. That's an insignia for it. So brought it home, and it's just one of the things that have been sitting in the spare room gathering dust for the last 50 odd years. When I came home and went back into the police force, one of the things that what Jock mentioned, where he did the march through Brisbane, they used to do the march through Melbourne, and when an infantry battalion came back, they'd march. But what had happened with all the, as time was going on, and I'm talking 69 onwards, the movement against the war was increasing, and then they had incidents where people had thrown paint and they had thrown blood and stuff over the soldiers marching through. So then they decided to call it off, because that was it was becoming just too unruly. But also being in the police force, there was a lot of demonstrations in the city, and which we went to, and they were demonstrations against the war. One of the leading advocates for that was Jim Cairns, who was a member of Parliament at the time. He led those type of demonstrations and things like that, and yeah, there was a big movement against it. It's probably similar to what's happening at the moment with the anti-Semitic type things that are happening in Melbourne now. But yes, it did happen, and there were, in private life, as far as I was concerned, when I was here at Essendon, that type of thing, I didn't encounter it. But as a policeman, I did encounter it, yes. In terms of the what was going on, it wasn't an everyday type thing, but it was like they'd organise these type of demonstrations, or if, like with the march going through, they demonstrated there, and they did those type of things, and yeah, there was a movement, and an organised movement against it, but just unfortunate, one of those things. Well, I joined in '66. I served 25 years in the police force, and I left after 25 years. I was an inspector at the time when I left. Got to a stage in life where it was time for a change, and yeah. So, but I enjoyed it up to a point, and then got to a point it was time for a change. I left the police force and went to the Myer Group as a security manager there for 5 years. Then after that, I went and worked at Wilson Parking as an operation manager for 10 years, and that was a great period of my life working at Wilson Parking. That was a great firm, great people, and you know, I enjoyed that. Well, up to 2008, and I had a heart attack, and I thought, well, that's it, time to give it up. Well, family-wise, when I came back in '69, I was I met my lovely wife Patricia, and we were married in '71. We had 2 children, Matthew and Jacqueline, and we now have 4 grandchildren. Matthew, his wife Carly, have Archie and Frankie, 2 boys, and Jackie has 2 girls, Mary and Piper. So yeah, no, it's been great. Family-wise, all good. We live up at Diggers Rest. We've got 15 acres up there, and you know, we've got plenty of time to enjoy it. They spend a lot of time up there, and we also spend a lot of time running around after them. Yeah, so no, all good. Yeah, look, I'm a member of the East Kilmore RSL. I have been for a number of years, and the other thing what I do is on Anzac Day I march in the city. The last many years I've marched with Ian Finlay. We've been mates for a long time, and yeah, it's fair to say it's a fun day with Ian. He comes along, and after his first 20-odd jokes, we start to talk a bit of sense, and away we go. But no, he's a great guy, and we've enjoyed each other's company for a long time. He's a mad keen Essendon man. He played here with Essendon, but being with Essendon, and I met some great people here, and the one thing with Essendon, with so many guys from Essendon going overseas, Jock in particular, I've enjoyed their company. There was 6 guys who have played in the first side. There's Ian and Jock and Peter Whitburn, who's also played at Essendon in the reserves, that type of thing. I've enjoyed all their company, and we've got to know them over the period of time. When I first came down to Essendon, one of the guys, Keith Gent, who unfortunately was wounded in Vietnam, he was a great guy. He befriended me when I first arrived, and no, it was good, and it was just unfortunate. Keith only played 7 games, but I'm sure, look, if he hadn't have been wounded over in Vietnam, he would have played a lot more games. He was a great footballer, and it was just bad luck, or it's part of being in the army that you do. These things happen, and unfortunately it happened to Keith. The other guys, Ian Anderson, he was in the infantry. Billy Thompson, he was in the transport. Lindsay McGee was in the infantry. So it's happened. Jock was in the infantry as well. So the daughter and son, they follow Essendon. I have, as I said, I've got 4 grandkids. I've got 2 grandsons, Archie and Frankie, Essendon supporters, and I've got 2 granddaughters, Mia and Piper. Piper's an Essendon supporter, but unfortunately Mia's a Carlton supporter, believe it or not. So Father Marcus is a Carlton man, and Mia's, she follows Carlton. Growing up, Charles and I grew up on the farm, and he was a mad Essendon supporter. Had his pictures of Jack Clark, John Bird, Jeff Leake on his side of the room. On my side of the room, I was a mad Keen Collingwood supporter, and I had Ray Gavlik and Murray Worderman, Trevor Potter, all those guys. Anyway, when Charles got picked up by Essendon, I sort of started to follow Essendon, and then when they came calling, and I said yes, I'm coming, and I ended up going down there. I arrived in '65, and I played only the 1 game that year, where I got 5 minutes. But the '65 grand final, I got named as an emergency for the grand final. One of the guys, Ian Shelton, was under a bit of a cloud, and they named 2 emergencies, Ken Timms and myself. But knowing Bluey Shelton, if he had to pull out, it would have been walk-up start for Ken Timms to walk into the side. And but that day I had to take my gear, and anyway, after they Bluey Shelton, you wouldn't pull out of a grand final. You have to have a broken leg to pull out of a grand final. He played a great game, and they won the grand final. So that was it. Essendon also played in the '68 grand final. Well, I think I was a newy dat then, listening to it on Radio Australia, and no, look, with Essendon, I had a bit of bad luck in terms of injury. When I came back in '69, I got picked for the last game of this season. Thank Jack Clark for that. Whether it was an encouragement game or whatever, but anyway, I got to play the last game. And then in 1970, I played the first game against Carlton, and fair to say, in the first quarter, I got fixed up by a Carlton man, and I got 3 broken ribs and a ruptured kidney, and so I missed half the season, and I was in Sacred Heart Hospital bleeding for about a week, and anyway, life goes on, and I finally made it back about halfway through the season, and got a few more games in that year, and 71 was played about half the season, and in 72 I got my marching orders. Good luck elsewhere, mate. it's probably my attitude to life. I take each day as it comes and roll with the flow, and I haven't had any issues, big issues in life where I've had really strong feelings against anything. I just go with the flow, as they say. But the main thing in my life is my family. I love my family, and I just, when the time comes, I just hope they continue the way I've continued in life, the way my wife, she's been a wonderful companion, you know, and role model for the kids, and yeah, no, we've had a good life, Pat and I, and we just hope there's many more years to come, and the kids just remember the good times they've had with us.